Attachment and Obedience, taken from the book Recognition of Me is Liberation. The radical conversion to intrinsic egolessness in the divine reality of way of Adidam, by his divine presence, Avatar Adidar Samraj. My devotee's right relationship to me can be summarized in 2 words: attachment and obedience. Devotional attachment to me, or radical devotion to me, is the essence of my devotee's recognition of me. For it is a spontaneous devotional attachment to me which turns the psychophysical faculties to me and away from the habitual patterns of egoity. And obedience to me, or consistent and formally accountable application to my divine avataric word of instruction relative to all aspects of functional, practical, relational and cultural self-discipline, or the counter-egoic address to the entire domain of ego-patterned life, is the essence of my devotee's response to me. For it is by means of obedience to me that my devotee conforms the body-mind self to me, thereby becoming deeply available to the intransformative power of my divine avataric grace. Thus, the coincidence of devotional attachment to me and obedience to me is the engine of effective practice in and beyond the foundation stages of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart, or radical reality way of Adidam. It is by means of profound devotional attachment to me that my devotee actually lives in right relationship to me. The entire life of my true devotee is governed by the to me attracted turning of the principal faculties to me. My true devotee constantly remembers me and resorts to me, and his or her actions in life take place on that basis. Thus, my true devotee gets out of shape by living his or her devotional attachments to me, rather than living the automatic patterns of egoity. If there is no demonstration of devotional attachment to me, then you are necessarily detached from me, always thinking and talking, secluded in your own mind, centered in your own motivations, experiences and limitations. In that case, practice of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart, or radical reality way of Adidam, cannot become profound, because the fundamental link to me has not yet been awakened. Devotional attachment to me changes what you do, and devotional attachment to me changes the contents of the faculties, because if you are devotionally attached to me, the faculties are inherently turned to me, rather than being turned on their own contents or previously established adaptations. Indeed, the spontaneous arising of devotional attachment to me is the root cause of the real and true practice of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart, or radical reality way of Adidam. Then real and true practice is not a merely philosophical matter, not any form of mere social relationship to me, not a matter of mere words or seeming devotion. Rather, the real and true practice of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart, or radical reality way of Adidam, is built entirely on the spontaneous and always renewed and ongoing devotional attachment to me. If you, as my devotee, are devotionally attached to me, you are always focused whole-bodily on me. If you, as my devotee, are devotionally attached to me. You take my instruction very seriously and you carry it out. Devotional attachment to me is the by me given means for the release from ego bondage. Nevertheless, devotional attachment to me is not any kind of method. Rather, devotional attachment to me is the principle by which the ego-transcending practice of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart, or radical reality way of Adidam, is made real and effective. Devotional attachment to me is not something my devotee merely chooses to do. Rather, devotional attachment to me is a spontaneously arising and immediately life-transforming state or attitude and activating principle of being. When you are devotionally attached to me, you are thus and thereby always actively moved to demonstrate obedience to me by conforming all aspects of your life to my divine avataric word of instruction. As my beginning devotee, you apply my divine avataric word of instruction in a manner that really deals with all of your life business, all of the otherwise uninspected patterning of money, food, sex, and social egoity. Thus, as my beginning devotee, you necessarily mature in real or life-effective self-understanding, and you are formally and consistently kept accountable for making real and necessary changes in your life. In that maturing course, you reflect fruitfully on the history of your lifetime, such that you truly get the lessons of that history, and you truly see how that history is expressed in your habits, your tendencies, and your preoccupations of mind, and you engage all the specific forms of ego-transcending discipline that are necessary to allow your life patterning to be purified by means of my divine avataric grace. Such is the devotional response of real obedience to me. When devotional turning to me and ego-transcending changes in action and the exercise of perfect knowledge are demonstrated, respectively, as fullest and consistent devotional surrender to me, and true whole bodily or total psychophysical equanimity, or truly and consistently revealed, resolved, and balanced life disposition, and a disposition that intrinsically or always priorly and thus characteristically stands free of the fault of objects, the fault of knowledge and the known, the fault of subjectivity and the fault of attention or point of view, then you are prepared to move beyond the student-beginner practice of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart, or radical reality way of Adidam. There must be both the real devotional attachment to me and the real obedience to me. Apparent attachment to me without real obedience to me is mere self-deluded devotionalism, and apparent obedience to me without real devotional attachment to me is mere self-occupied self-effort. Devotion, or me recognizing devotional attachment to me, is always the first principle of right and true relationship to me, and obedience to me, which inevitably follows responsively upon the awakening of true devotion to me, is the second principle of right and true relationship to me. Only when devotional attachment to me is intact as the actual context and guiding principle of your life will the forms of responsive obedience to me be truly transformative. It is the moment-to-moment turning to me that makes discipline into obedience, and therefore makes your application to the by me given forms of self-discipline into real ego-transcending practice. Therefore, if you are not really and truly and consistently turned to me, then you have detached yourself from what would make your practice effective. To be truly devotionally attached to me and truly obedient to me literally requires a 180-degree turnaround of your life. It requires that you relinquish the characteristic late-time disinclination to honour what is great and instead subordinate yourself to what is great. It requires that you relinquish the willful disposition of egoic independence. It requires that you cease to have a godless and guru-less life. The primary fault to be transcended is not your addiction to anything in the domain of money, food, sex, and social relations. Rather, the primary fault to be transcended is the godless and guru-less disposition and state of life, and thus of fundamental and chronic detachment from the divine self-nature, self-condition, and self-state of reality itself. And indeed, that very fault is what has traditionally been criticized by means of such words as sin, meaning in essence, dissociation from the divine. Therefore, relinquish your patterned dissociation from the divine by means of real devotional attachment to me and real obedience to me. The real, right and true devotional relationship to me is the case from the very beginning of your real, right and true practice of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart, or radical reality way of Adidam, rightly from the very first or actual moment of your formal embrace of the vow of eternal devotion to me. The devotional relationship to me is not something you must work toward. Rather, when you truly embrace that vow as my formally practicing devotee, you are immediately in my house, at my feet, now and forever hereafter. The fundamental practice of the only by me revealed and given radical way of reality way of the heart, or radical reality way of Adidam, is whole bodily turning to me beyond all of your subjective content. Therefore, when you are truly whole bodily turned to me, you effectively cease to be a remembered body-mind self or a self-conscious body-mind, because the fundamental practice of whole bodily turning to me is me conscious rather than you conscious. That me consciousness is the basis for the entire process of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart or radical way of Adidam. When you are truly whole bodily turned to me, your devotional relationship to me becomes the content of your mind, and you are no longer bound up in the endlessly elaborated reflection on your own personal content or your own past. When you are truly whole bodily turned to me, there is no mind and there is no past. Because the principal faculties of the body-mind complex are turned to me, there is no reference to time or mind. It is not that time and mind no longer exist. In some ordinary sense, they naturally continue to exist, but they cease to be relevant to your practice of the only by me revealed and given radical way of the heart, or radical reality way of Adidam. To be truly turned to me and thereby truly surrendered to me has nothing to do with any of the contents of mind, even the contents of arising experience. The contents of arising experience are noticed, but they have ceased to be the real contents of your life. In the common world, egos are always talking about themselves and meditating on themselves. That self-obsessed ego pattern is the precise opposite of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart, or radical reality way of Adidam. That ego pattern is the 180-degree false turn to your apparent self and always from me. To be turned to the ego itself is the pattern of common life, and indeed human beings characteristically generate all of that, their thinkings and doings, including religion, from that pattern. However, that ego pattern is utterly false. To be truly and wholeheartedly turned to me generates an entirely different or reality ego transcending culture altogether. The ordinary functional life of human beings is determined by an unfathomable complex of ego patterns. Fundamentally, the ordinary functional life of human beings is about memory and therefore about the past. However, life based on memory is not and cannot be right and true yoga. Indeed, such a life cannot be yogically significant. The right and true yoga of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart or radical reality way of Adidam has nothing to do with seeming or remembering or ego patterning in accordance with the previous experience or associations or adaptations or preferences. All such seeming or remembering or ego patterning is mind or the mummery of memory. The mind mummery is a representational life, not a real life. The mind mummery is narcissus. That mind mummery is the mere ego theatre of seeming, a drama based on the remembered past. That mind mummery is always a dramatization or the playing of a role bodily and outwardly, and therefore the mind mummer is inherently self-deluded. Mummery is memory. Therefore, mummery is inherently false. Mummery is egoity, because egoity is about the life remembered, the life constructed, the life believed, rather than the life truly lived. When life is truly lived in devotional recognition of me and devotional response to me, it does not have any mind. Thus, true devotion to me does not have any mind or any patterned content. Devotion to me reaches and turns beyond all patterned content. As my devotee, your life involves all kinds of doings in your devotional attachment to me and your true whole bodily turning to me. Those doings generate various kinds of signs, results, and so on, which then take the form of all the different varieties of gifts to me. Thus, the cultivation of right relationship to me through the offering of gifts to me is always in the essence a matter of your real devotional attachment to me, a fundamental turning of your whole or total psychophysical being to me. The sacrament of universal sacrifice is a means by which I constantly remind my devotees that fundamental nature of what my true devotee does, moment to moment, is the sacrament of turning to me through the offering of gifts to me, through the whole bodily turning of the principal faculties to me, through the surrender of separate and separatist self to me, and then, having turned to me, living by my divine avataric prasad, or my divine avataric gift given in return. If you truly wholeheartedly turn to me, you are inherently living a life in which reality itself can, by means of my divine avataric grace, be directly realized, not merely sought. Indeed, reality itself is tacitly and at last most perfectly realized in every moment of devotionally recognizing me and devotionally responding to me. Ultimately, at last, that by me given life becomes an unspeakable profundity of reality realization. But the real realization of reality itself is, tacitly, the case from the very beginning of your right and true practice of the only by me revealed and given radical reality way of the heart or radical reality way of Adidam. Such tacit reality realization is real and true devotional attachment to me, for it is the tacit devotional recognition of me that moves the principal faculties to me. When you are truly devotionally attached to me, you are no longer living a remembered life and recounting that life endlessly with one another. Devotional attachment to me is not even a matter of your remembering my life. Rather, devotional attachment to me is a matter of your remembering me always now. Of course, my devotees are inherently and spontaneously moved to tell the leelas of my divine avataric self-manifestation here. Such telling of my divine avataric leelas, in some sense, a recounting, but always a living recounting. The true telling of my divine avataric leelas is a means whereby my devotees become turned, not merely to their memories of me, but to me, through their present time feeling attention. The true telling of my divine avataric leelas sensitizes my devotees to me, but always now. Therefore, the telling of my divine avataric leelas is not a mere evening disc speech about the past. Rightly told, my divine avataric leelas are always and inherently revelatory of me now. The merely remembered body does not, in truth, even relate to me. Rather, the remembered body merely dwells on itself, in itself, as a structure based on mind, on the past, on ego possession. Indeed, the remembered body is merely self-imagery displaying itself through a moment-to-moment dramatization. The programmed, planned, self-consciously seeking self-guruing, self-mapping, self-remembering disposition only makes the cult of saint and ear. Such a disposition cannot make a culture of real devotion to me. You cannot connect to me through mere memory. You must turn to me directly through devotional recognition of me as I am. The ego-transcending practice of devotion or right relationship to me is not an exercise of mind and memory. If you are intentionally engaging an ostensibly to me devoted activity in mind, which you presume you must repeatedly remember to do, you are not enacting true remembrance of me. To engage such mind remembrance is to relate to me in a manner that merely extends into your own mind and never truly connects with me, because your mind is not me. To rightly make use of my murti, for example, is not a matter of relating merely to the physical image of my divinely avatarically born, bodily human divine form. Rather, right use of my murti is necessarily a matter of relating to me, making use of my murti as a means for entering into devotional communion with me in present time. The reality where devotional communion with me is always now. There are various by me given means whereby my devotees are brought into devotional communion with me, and these means have a dimension that, it would seem, has at least something to do with mind and memory, but no such exercise of mind and memory is an end in itself. The mind and memory aspect of any by me given practice is nothing but a form by means of which the principal faculties are turned to me and thus and thereby given access to me. But in making use of such forms, you must be really turned to me, not to the memory of me and not to a mind form about me. As my devotee, you are not related to my murti or to any kind of image of me in your mind. As my devotee, your relationship to me always be beyond time and thus and thereby always in present time. All images of me, whether subjectively or objectively perceived, are simply means to enter into present time relationship to me and thus into devotional communion with me. My devotees must never make a cult out of my remembered self. To do so is to create a false religion of mind, even a kind of idolatry, worshipping ego-made representations of me. People People like the notion that whatever there is that is of an ultimate nature is somehow within them. The notion that God is within, or the divine spirit is within, or the light is within. However, in truth, I am not within you. Rather, you are in me. Indeed, you are utterly surrendered and pervaded by me, and I am also now and forever hereafter shown here, whether alive or by means of imaged forms, in divinely avatarically born bodily human divine form. Therefore, the idea that all you have to do in order to cultivate this relationship to me as my devotee is simply to remember my murti and or entertain certain concepts that you associate with my reality teaching and merely carry this word or image inside you is utterly false. The real devotional and in due course transcendental spiritual relationship to me is always beyond mind and memory, always beyond the context of appearances. Anything within the domain of mind and memory is, at best, simply a means. I myself am beyond and prior to all such means, and I am beyond you. I am not merely inward to you, such that you can turn in on yourself and find me there. The divine is within. Notion is nothing but an ego-based illusion. An illusion that justifies egoic religion or false religiosity or cultism. I myself have nothing in mind. There is no mind in me, literally none. And effectively, by means of real whole body turning to me, there should be no mind in my devotees. If you function only in the realm of mind and memory, then you are devoting yourself to mere cultic artifacts and using those artifacts as means to carry on a pseudo practice of devotion to me. The real knowledge of me is not something remembered. Therefore, nothing that occurred in the past, nothing you have ever thought or experienced is fundamentally relevant to the practice of real, always present time devotion to me. Real whole bodily turning to me is always now. Therefore, the content, the memory, the accumulated patterns, the tendencies, the self-report, the self-image are ultimately, utterly relevant. To be whole bodily turned to me, beyond the contents of the psychophysical faculties, is to be established in the room of my bright divine person. That room is prior to and beyond all point of view effects, all states of body and mind, all images, all ideas. That room is the speechless, nameless, and absolute love blissfulness of me. Your conditional or psychophysical content is what prohibits you from truly turning to me. To be preoccupied with your conditional or psychophysical content is to turn on your presumed self. In and of itself, the content of the body-mind complex itself is nothing but modes of self-contraction. Therefore, no program of turning to me can ever result in real and true turning to me. Any such program is merely a ritual based on the mind of memory. The programs of seeming devotion are enacted through words or religion speak, and through strategic actions, even actions such as prostrating to me or offering a tangible gift to me, which were otherwise entirely right and appropriate when done in the truly turned to me disposition. Real whole bodily turning to me has no content, no memory, no mind, no program. Real whole bodily turning to me is based on tacit devotional recognition of me, my self-evidently divine state, and bright person in the present moment, right now, and yet paradoxically transcending all reference to time. That devotional recognition of me is the basis for all the true signs of turning to me, which signs can be summarized as the twin demonstration of devotional attachment to me and devotional obedience to me. All right relationship to me is based on devotional recognition of me, not on any program of how to look or how to act or what to say. Only real whole bodily turning to me, as opposed to any form of mere ritual or program, actually has to do with me. Da, da, da.